Now you might be thinking, just 1 year, really? And what do you mean exactly by learn a language? Hi, my name is Thomas Galgani. I have a master's degree in translation studies and I used to teach Russian full-time for the military. But aside from any academic or professional uses, learning a foreign language was honestly one of the few things that I actually stuck with, and it completely changed my life. Хотя выражение «говорить свободно» каждый человек понимает по-своему, я верю, что 1 года изучения любого иностранного языка достаточно, чтобы начать общаться с людьми и чувствовать себя комфортно и уверенно, говоря на этом языке. Now, I've been studying Russian and using it for over 10 years now, but around that 1 year mark was about the time that I felt like I had a pretty decent foundation and could start to talk to people. And I share that with you to say that the massive leaps you make in a language within that first year could be the catalyst for a whole other world of culture and language that you open up for yourself. It can really kick things off. Now, these are the 10 protocols that I've noticed have helped me the most. Maybe they'll help you too. Simple tools and parameters. Research shows that a lot of times procrastination will happen because people don't know what to do, they don't know how to do it, or they're putting off the negative emotions that they have associated with the work itself. So with something like language learning that's inherently uncomfortable, make sure that you have simple things set up, know exactly what you're gonna do. Whether that's 20 minutes a day on an app or software. I recommend also having a physical book that you can fall back on if technology goes down. If you're a little bit more advanced or intermediate, know the media that you're gonna be using for the day, have it downloaded ahead of time so that you can already jump in. And then ideally attach it to some kind of habit that you already have that's enjoyable for you. That could be a cup of coffee, that could be a walk before or afterwards, but just something that allows you to integrate it into your daily life and not hate it every time. I like using language learning software and AI, but that person-to-person communication, whether it's in real life or virtually through a screen, it's invaluable because you have that quick feedback loop as well as all the non-verbal cues. One resource I recommend checking out is mylanguageexchange.com. I don't have any affiliation with them, and this video is not sponsored by them or anything, but it's a site that I found to be really useful to get some good speaking practice. I unfortunately didn't find it until later on in my journey, but I think you can start it even kind of early if you're just starting out. It's basically where you put in your native language and then you are able to pair yourself up with people who are studying your native language and then who happen to be native speakers in the language that you're studying. So you do a little exchange. It's a good way, more affordable option. There's a free version. And this is something you can also do in real life too. In fact, I encourage you in the comments to, if this is something you'd like to try, is leave your native language as well as the language that you're trying to study. And then who knows, you can find somebody to pair up with. The reason I also mentioned homework in this protocol is because real life homework is important. When you're actually meeting with people, if it's an understood goal that you're studying, languages together, take notes, have 3 to 5 things to work on after each meeting. A lot of times people will talk about in language learning like, oh, make mistakes, it's so good, that's the way you learn. Well, is that your goal though? Is that really what you're trying to do, is just make mistakes all day long? They're good if you learn from them. You should be actively trying to fix the mistakes that you're making that people, go out of their way to point out to you. Now, of course, I'm not saying that you're not gonna make mistakes multiple times, even if you're a good learner. In fact, especially with speaking, that's gonna happen multiple times, and that's fine. But at least take an active approach towards it and make sure that you're doing this real life homework on your own, taking note of the things that people point out to you. Focusing on core structures and vocabulary that you use on a daily basis can be really useful. Kenneth Hale, who was a linguistics professor for MIT, he was a polyglot who could reportedly converse in over 50 languages. One of the things that he talked about was focusing on simple core grammatical structures as opposed to learning all the kind of advanced miscellaneous things and as much information as possible. He would focus on the things that he knew he would have to use on a daily basis. And I think in my experience, this has been really useful if you're learning things like I have this, or I am cold, I am hungry, do you have this, do you have that? So questions and statements, as many touch points as possible, things that you're going to interact with on a daily basis with as much emotional association as possible is going to be really beneficial. By the way, if you're enjoying this content, I encourage you to sign up for my free weekly newsletter for more in-depth language learning tips, as well as some personal insights to help guide you on your journey. To sign up, just hit the link in the description, or you can go to my website at thomasgalgani.com to check it out. Now, let's dive back into the video. Construct your own immersion. Now, of course, if you're able to go to a real immersion program like the Middlebury Language Schools in Vermont, or live abroad for a long period of time, that's going to be really good. But remember that you can always structure your life around the language itself. So every time you get in the car, if you're listening to the language or lessons about the language, if you're just starting out, you know, whether it be about grammar or vocabulary, I think that we underestimate how much we can immerse ourselves in any topic that we want to just through daily practices and daily habits. So as long as you can think as much as possible in the language, you'd be surprised how far you can get and how enveloping an immersion that you can create for yourself. When it comes to exposure to the language or active use of it, you want to get more frequent practice as opposed to just super intense about it. What I mean by that is, you know, let's say if you have 3 hours to practice a given topic or the language as a whole, 3 hours a week, it's better to do 6 days a week of 30 minutes, you know, getting that practice in frequently as opposed to just 3 hours in one sitting. And the reason for that is the information is just going to stick with you much better, as well as the muscle memory of speaking it and interacting with other people. Oh, go, go. So kind of a caveat to that last protocol is now to forget consistency. You want to be frequent in your efforts, but you don't want to be consistent with the same things that you're doing. You want to mix it up and have fun with the language as much as possible. If you're so consistent in doing the same things, then it's just going to get boring after a while. Someday you work on more listening, some days you work on more speaking or reading. Talk to different people, interact with different people, and even study with different people too, if possible. If you're on your own, then again, just practice different types of exercises. No matter what happens along the way, guys, it's really important to nurture your vision. Okay, you might even have some people that laugh at you a little bit when they find out the language that you're studying or that you're studying a certain language. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. If they think it's a waste of time, what matters is your vision for yourself and your future, why you want to learn it. And so take some time visualizing that periodically. I recommend, you know, every day. The more you do something, the better you get at it. And so when you can put that picture in your mind, have a clear picture of the type of person that you want to be with the capabilities that you want to have, it's going to come that much easier. I did this all the time. I would sometimes just imagine, you know, thinking I don't want to be complimented on my language skills. I want to actually be able to use it and have seamless, you know, communication with people. And because I could see it in my mind, I knew that I was going to be able to make it a reality, and I didn't care what anybody else thought. You know, maybe I cared a little bit, but I had to constantly remind myself to not worry about that. Stay true to what I knew was going to work, and eventually, as you go on too, you'll you know, build new networks, and you'll get make a lot of friends with people who have the same goals as you do, and then nurturing that vision will just become that much easier. So journal and track. It helps to journal in the language that you're learning, of course, once you build up those skill sets and you're able to do that. But even just writing to yourself about the things that you're learning, if it's in your native language, let's say it's English, you say, I learned how to say, you know, how to talk about breakfast this morning, and it was awesome, okay? journal about it, and keep track of your progress too, because you're gonna forget where you were a month ago. And then, as we go back to, talking about nurturing your vision, you wanna remember the progress that you're making each day. Okay, protocol number 9 is to take care of yourself. Remember to not neglect your health, guys. You're asking a lot of yourselves to learn another language. So I would recommend putting sleep at the top of that list, then diet, then physical activity, in that order, to make sure you're getting enough sleep before and after those really demanding lessons, so that you have enough energy to perform during the lesson, and that you get enough so that it can store the information. Matt Walker's book, Why We Sleep, highly recommend it. And then physical activity. Even if it's just something, a minimum of like 20 minutes of walking a day, that'll help with everything. Protocol number 10 is, aside from studying the language itself, is remember to study geography, history, and current events of your target language. Not only will it make the whole process itself much more enjoyable, because you can immerse yourself in the culture more and find more things in common with speakers of your target language, but you'll also perform better on tests. If testing your proficiency happens to be something that you plan on doing, because your comprehension is going to go up when you know where a lot of these cities are, for example, or different things that are happening within the culture. You'll perform a lot better. That's it for this week, guys. See you in the next video.